IELTS preparation and practice, listening and speaking, listening materials. Unit 2, Section 1 of the listening test. Track 1, example activity.
Well, Sarah, which section of the supermarket do you think we should start in?
I think we should buy the healthy food first. So let's start with the fruit and vegetables rather than the snack food, which I know you like.
Track 2, practice listening activity 1. Listen to these short conversations and use the information you hear to answer the questions in your book. Study the questions first and try to write the answer while you are listening.
What's your last name?
It's Thompson.
Could you spell that, please?
Yes, certainly. That's Thompson.
What's your student number?
03976 11 41952.
When do I have to return these books?
By the end of the month, 26th January.
And what's the registration number of your car?
1BLY 443.
What's the number of the bus?
60.
The number 16?
Number 60.
Where are they going?
To South Austria?
Was that South Australia?
No, South Austria.
When will that be ready?
It usually takes a couple of days, so I'd say the 20th. What time does it leave?
1800 hours.
What percentage of people go there?
I thought it was 19%, but apparently it's 90%.
What are the opening times?
Weekdays, 10 until 3, and closed weekends. And what is your street name?
Terrasley Road.
How is that spelled?
TERRACELEY Road.
Do you have your membership number with you?
Yes. It's 56943337.
When are your exams?
In the next few weeks, 14th and 15th of October.
I'll need your account number for that.
Okay. It's HAE 431884. How old did you say he was?
90.
Only 19?
No, 90. Could you spell that for me, please?
MARSUPIAL.
When can I come and pick it up?
At the end of the week, on the 12th. When is it due?
It's running late, about 6 o'clock.
How fast does it travel?
They've increased the speed from 60 kilometers per hour to 70. What are your office hours?
During the week, normal working hours, 9 to 5, except late night shopping on Thursdays until 9.
Track 3, practice listening activity 2. Conversation 1.
Hi, Brad. How are your swimming classes going?
Great. What about yours?
Oh, I stopped swimming last term. I'm doing football now.
I hear that's great exercise. How long do you practice for?
1 hour a week.
I wish I only did 1 hour instead of 2. It's exhausting.
Well, maybe you should try a different sport.
Conversation 2.
So, what do you think you will order, Anne?
I've heard the seafood is very good here, so I think I'll have the fish.
On your recommendation, I'll also get seafood because I don't eat beef.
Oh, I don't mind red meat. And I've decided on the cheesecake for dessert. Will you join me?
I think I'll have the cheese platter instead.
Conversation 3.
Are you still working at the health club, Sandra?
Yes, I'm at the same place, but I work different days now.
I haven't seen you there the last couple of days.
That's because I've changed from weekends to weekdays.
That means we can catch up at the weekend when you'll have free time.
Conversation 4.
Did you go away for the national holiday?
Yes, I took the family to a theme park. What about you?
We were thinking about a holiday, but there were only 3 days, so it was too short for us.
We only went there for 3 days because it was close by. What did you do instead?
We went to the local park for the children to play on the playground.
Unfortunately, there weren't any playgrounds at the theme park, just rides. But we did manage to go horse riding on one of the days.
We actually rode horses each day of the holiday.
Conversation 5.
So how did you enjoy the party last night, Sam?
It was okay, but the music was too loud. What did you think, Nick?
I really enjoyed myself. Did both of you stay till the end?
I left early.
Why was that?
I had to start work early this morning.
I was lucky and could sleep in today.
Unit 3, Section 2 of the listening test. Track 4. Practice listening activity 3. Dangerous snakes and spiders. Martin Jackson talks to a group of nature enthusiasts who are interested in hiking in the forests or bush areas of Australia. He is talking about the poisonous spiders and snakes that they might encounter during their hike and what to do about them.
Welcome, everyone. I know that you are about to head off to hike in the Australian bush. No doubt this will be an interesting and memorable experience for you. On the whole, the Australian bush is relatively safe for humans. However, it would not be entirely true to say that it is completely without danger. Although there are no man-eating lions or rampaging elephants in the Australian bush, there are some animals that can be dangerous if you are unlucky enough to encounter and disturb them. So in my talk today, I'm going to give you some information about these special animals and a few tips on what to do if someone is bitten. Many people hate spiders and snakes. They see them as dangerous and deadly and try to get rid of them. I am not a pest exterminator, I am a naturalist, and I happen to think that scorpions are beautiful and that snakes and spiders are fascinating. Animals that are dangerous to us are predators, which means they prey upon other animals for food. To do this, they need weapons to kill their prey: sharp teeth, strong claws, or poison. By the way, did you ever stop to think that humans are predators too? We also kill for food. However, we don't actually do the killing ourselves. Modern humans just need to make a trip to the local supermarket. Unlike us, most predators have to do their killing the hard way, by catching their food in the wild when they are hungry. For most snakes and spiders, their common weapon is venom. Of course, humans are not food for spiders and snakes. In fact, if humans disturb or threaten them, they will usually try to escape. But they may also use their weapons to defend themselves. So because we know this, we need to know how to defend ourselves against them too. This does not mean, however, that we need to kill them. Our best defence is to be prepared. This means, first, being able to recognise venomous species so that we can avoid them. So please check your manuals for the most common varieties in the area you plan to visit. This way, I hope you'll stay away from those that are harmful. Sometimes, however, it is not possible to avoid these animals, so we need to know what will happen if we are bitten and what to watch out for. Each species has its own set of signs and symptoms in the case of a bite. So again, I suggest that you check these in your manuals before you leave. For most known venomous species, a specific antivenom is usually available, so identification can help, and quick medical aid is important. In the unfortunate case that someone is bitten, it is important therefore to know what to do to avoid unnecessary pain, discomfort, or death.
Track 5, Practice Listening Activity 4.
You have 4 new messages. First message, received today at 9:37 a.m.
Hi Mike, this is Sam from our architecture course. I'm in the city today and I was hoping to catch up with you. Perhaps we could meet for lunch to discuss the new project we have to work on. If you get this message in time, call me on 0469 448 932. That's 0469 448 932. Hope you get this. Cheers.
Second message, received today at 10:12 a.m. Michael, this is just to remind you that you have an appointment here with the dentist at 10:30 tomorrow morning. Could you ring us back as soon as possible, please, to confirm your appointment? 0176 434295. Third message, received today at 11:34 a.m.
Hello, my name's John Ferguson. I'm ringing regarding the car, the Toyota that you advertised for sale in the Sunday paper. Would you be able to give me a call back so that we could organise a time for me to see the car? My number is 08913 5624. I will be home all day. I'll give you the number again. It's 08913 5624. Thank you.
Fourth message, received today at 2:22 p.m.
Hi, this is Sam again. It's now after 2. I'm just ringing to say that I'm sorry to have missed you today. Never mind, it was a spur of the moment thing. It would have been good to see you to discuss that project. Perhaps you could email me about it. My email address at work is s.pearce, that's PIERCE @central.wa.edu.au. I'll just repeat that, s.pearce@central.wa.edu.au. You have my phone number already. Hope to hear from you soon.
Unit 4, Section 3 of the listening test. Track 6, Practice Listening Activity 5. Conversation 1.
Hi Brad, I hear you're going on a holiday.
Yes, that's right. But you're staying at home?
Unfortunately, yes. I'm fixing the garden.
I need to do that, but it can wait until I get back.
Conversation 2.
So what colour are you going to paint the living room, Anne?
I like green, but you recommended cream.
It's a very flexible colour and you'll be able to buy any colour furnishings.
Conversation 3.
Are you still working from home, Sandra?
Yes, but I also teach 2 days a week.
Oh, I'm teaching full-time. Do you plan to increase your hours?
Yes, I'm thinking about it.
Conversation 4.
Mike, have you seen the latest blockbuster movie yet?
Yes, I have. What about you?
We're going to see it this weekend. You like the main actor, don't you? But you're not really fond of action movies like me.
Conversation 5.
Hello, my name's Chris. I believe you know my sister?
Yes, I'm Sam. Do you remember my friend Nick?
I think we've met once before.
Yes, you look familiar.
I held a party that both of you attended.
Unit 5, Section 4 of the listening test. Track 7. Practice Listening Activity 6. The Internet.
Almost everyone who has a computer today realises the change that it has made to the way humans communicate. Millions of people around the world are connected to this information superhighway simply by having a modem and an address on the internet or net. The introduction of the web in 1990 enabled not only text links to be made, but also graphs, images, and even videos. By clicking with a mouse device on various parts of the screen, a person connected to the net could go travelling or surfing through a web of pages to locate whatever information was required. The World Wide Web is an enormous collection of internet addresses or sites, which has been responsible for the massive and rapid increase in the use of the internet since the 1990s. The vast majority of users, both young and old, get connected with the internet for a multiplicity of purposes, which seem to be ever increasing. The information on the internet is not owned or controlled by any one organisation. In fact, it is perhaps true to say that no one owns the net. Today, anyone can set up a site promoting a club, an institution, a company's products, or even an individual. As a result, a wealth of information is out there, freely available to those who have the curiosity and desire to search for it. Because of this relative freedom of access, this accessibility to information, the internet is often criticised as a potentially hazardous tool in the hands of young computer users. While there may be inherent problems for the very young in unsupervised access, the availability of information itself should not be seen as dangerous. What can be even more dangerous is lack of information. The ability to access updated information, multiple views, opinions and interpretations is important in a complex world and can only be a good thing. In any case, like the automobile, the internet is part of our life today and, as with anything, we need to accommodate its potential risks while we undoubtedly continue to appreciate the enormous benefits it brings us.
Track 8, Practice Listening Activity 7, Dangerous Animals, Snake Bites. Martin Jackson talks to a group of nature enthusiasts who are interested in hiking in the forests or bush areas of Australia. He is talking about the poisonous spiders and snakes that they might encounter during their hike and what to do about them.
In the unfortunate case that someone is bitten by a snake, it is important to know what to do to avoid unnecessary pain, discomfort or death. In today's talk, therefore, I would like to give you a few important points on what you should do in the event of snakebite. The first is to try to stay calm and to keep the victim as calm as possible, avoiding any unnecessary movement. This helps to keep the blood flow to a minimum and consequently the venom will move more slowly through the body. You should immediately wrap a broad, firm bandage over the bite and around the limb that has been bitten. In an emergency, any flexible material, such as clothing or towels, can be torn into strips and used for this purpose. A mark or pad placed over the location of the bite will help the medical aid later to find the bite quickly, and they will need to release the bandage only at that point. When bandaging the leg or arm, you need to start from the foot or hand and bandage up to the groin or armpit. You should use as much pressure as you would for a sprained ankle or wrist. Take care not to cut off circulation to the fingers or toes. It is important that, while bandaging, you keep the limb as still as possible. In the case of a bite on the leg, the best way to keep the limb still is to use the other leg as a splint and secure it with another bandage. This also helps prevent the victim from moving around. Some important things to remember are: never cut the bitten area and don't apply a tourniquet. I know this was once the recommended action, but this is no longer advisable. Furthermore, don't wash the bitten area. This is because doctors might later be able to identify the snake by the venom left on the skin. Finally, bring transport to the victim and take him or her to the nearest hospital. Oh, and one last thing. Don't risk being bitten yourself by trying to catch or kill the snake.
Track 9, Practice Listening Activity 8, Culture Shock. Professor Thompson is lecturing to a group of psychology students about the problems experienced by people who move to live in a new country. The professor discusses the term culture shock, which many use to describe it.
We hear the term culture shock quite often these days, so I'm going to discuss this topic briefly today. I'd like to explain it by describing some of the reasons why people experience it and how it can affect people who relocate to a new environment. Culture shock is a psychological term which is used to define the mental state that a person experiences when learning to live in a new culture. Learning to cope with regular daily life is often difficult for foreigners because they might find that many things in the new environment are totally different from the one they have recently left. One of these differences could relate to the climate and physical surroundings. It could be significantly hotter or colder or more humid, so the newcomer has to adjust to a new set of physical sensations to which their body has not been accustomed. The new conditions and culture will require the newcomer to find and wear suitable clothing and to understand what is appropriate. In addition, the range of food that is available and where to find it might also be quite different from that of the person's own country. These difficulties can then be further compounded by language differences if the foreigner does not know that local language. So problems arise as a foreigner endeavors to communicate with the residents, find accommodation, get a job, or access services. Together with the new language, the newcomer may notice differences in customs, the way people relate to each other, for example, how to greet others, whether to use first names, and what is considered polite behavior. The effect of these new surroundings and difficulties can produce a range of physical, mental, and emotional responses. For example, many people feel physically uncomfortable in the new climate. At the sight of food, they might lack appetite or even feel disgust. They can experience anxiety and frustration because of the communication problems they encounter. The behavior of the locals around them can result in feelings of shock or confusion. They often become angry, numb, or melancholic and look for the society of other foreigners with whom they feel more comfortable. So, what is the solution for people who find themselves in these circumstances? Well, with such a bombardment of new experiences, many people can become disillusioned and give up, and if possible, they return home. However, those who remain eventually do adjust and become accustomed to the new environment and culture. Some psychologists believe that more than 6 months are necessary to overcome culture shock and adjust to the new society. It is important to keep in mind, however, that every person and their circumstances will be different. So therefore, the experiences and results I describe will not be the same for everyone. Therefore, if people realize that culture shock is a very common experience and that things will improve in time, it can help them to better cope with the unpleasant reactions and feelings they might have during the first few months in a new culture.
Unit 6, at the end of the listening test. Track 10, Practice Listening Activity 9.
Hello, Wendy. Hi, David. Haven't seen you around for a while.
Hi, Irene. Yes, been busy doing lots of reading for my new university course.
How are things with you, Irene?
Oh, not bad, I suppose. But I'm a bit worried about the IELTS test I'm doing soon.
Really? I had to do that test to get into my uni course. There was quite a lot of preparation.
Yeah, I did it last year, so I know how you feel. Are you having any specific problems?
Well, I'm finding a few problems with the listening test. I really need to get a good mark.
Lots of listening practice certainly helps. I found it useful to listen to as many different English accents as I could.
Yeah, I've been listening to the radio and TV a lot, but I still have problems with the test itself. I seem to get lost sometimes.
Well, you know the different question types, don't you? So make sure that you understand the instructions and follow them exactly. I mean, depending on the question type, you have to know whether to select a letter, write a word, or 2 or 3 words to complete a sentence.
Yes, I think I have figured out the question types now. It does help to save time during the test if you can recognise quickly what to do.
Listening to the introduction to the section is really important too. You only get one chance to listen. The introduction gives you the topic or situation and the speaker's relationships, which is really useful when you start to listen.
That's true. I sometimes found that I was still reading and didn't focus on the introduction, so then I had no idea what I was listening to.
Yes, another thing is to try and use the questions during the reading time to predict your answers.
You mean guess the answers before listening?
Actually, yes. That was a really useful hint for me. I found that sometimes I could guess the answer before I listened, or at least had a good idea what it might be.
And even if you still don't hear the answer, you don't lose marks for wrong answers. You never know, your answer could be right. It's better than leaving an empty space.
This is all great advice, but the people on the recording speak very fast and sometimes use words that I don't know. I worry that I'm going to miss something important.
If you have read the questions already, you know what to listen for, so you really don't always need to understand every word. For example, if the question asks, "What time?" or "How much?" you know that you are listening for a time or a sum of money.
Sounds easy, Wendy, but I found that there isn't a lot of time to read the questions.
She's right. So I used to use the time they gave me for checking answers to read ahead in the next part or section.
I would also say that you should read about 2 questions ahead as you are listening to the text. That way there is less chance you will get lost if you do miss a question. Missing one question is better than missing a whole lot.
That's a good tip. I'll definitely try that.
Reading ahead is important for the tables, summaries, notes, and diagrams too. If you read them well, you get a really good idea of the topic and information you are about to hear.
Hang on, Wendy. Is this a listening test or a reading test?
It does appear that way, but of course you do have to listen to the speakers. They give you clues about what might be coming next. You know, the voice and intonation actually change when they are about to say something important. Also, they use signal words like firstly, in addition, and however. Pay attention to these things.
Wendy's right. It still is a listening test, but while listening, you also have to write. I found that I had to practice writing and listening a lot.
I find that I sometimes don't get it all down in time, and then I forget it. I guess it just needs practice to get information down quickly.
Sorry, but I have to mention one more important thing. Once you have all your answers in the booklet, transfer them correctly to the answer sheet. You don't want to lose marks unnecessarily. Take the 10 minutes to write the answers according to the instructions. Make sure the question numbers match and correctly spell the words. Use capitals where necessary and make sure any numbers are transferred correctly.
Yes, we were told about that. Some candidates don't do well just because they don't pay attention to how they transfer their answers. It's a pity.
Look, Irene, you still have a few months before the test. There is plenty of time to practice using these tips with some practice tests. You know what they say about practice?
I sure do. Thanks a lot, both of you. You've been really helpful.
Don't mention it. And good luck with the test.
Bye. Good luck.
Practice Test 1. You will hear a number of different recordings and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. Write all your answers in the listening question booklet. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now, turn to section 1 on page 2 of your test booklet. You should answer the questions as you listen because you will not hear the recording a second time. Section 1. Jack is on his way to Margaret's house party. He is phoning her for directions. First, you will have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. You will see that there is an example which has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be repeated. Jack has got lost on his way to Margaret's party. He is phoning her for directions.
Hello, is that Margaret?
Yes, who's speaking?
Margaret, it's Jack. I think I'm lost. I can't see a signpost.
Jack, so where are you now?
Well, I'm a bit confused about the directions, but I'm at a T-junction.
Jack says he is at a T-junction, so you choose C, at a T-junction. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. First, you have another chance to look at questions 1 to 5. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5. Jack has got lost on his way to Margaret's party. He is phoning her for directions.
Hello, is that Margaret?
Yes, who's speaking?
Margaret, it's Jack. I think I'm lost. I can't see a signpost and...
Jack, so where are you now?
Well, I'm a bit confused about the directions, but I'm at a T-junction.
What can you see around you?
I can see a pub on the corner.
Can you see the name of the pub?
Wait a minute, let me see. It's hard to see in the dark. Yes, I can read it now. It's called the Lion's Head.
Oh, the Lion's Head. OK, well then you're not too far away. Go straight ahead through the traffic lights to the next T-junction.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. What did you say?
I said just go through to the next T-junction.
OK. Now what?
Well, there's a park in front of you and a large 2-storey building on the corner.
Yes, I can see them.
OK, so now turn left. Hang on, you're coming up the street, so you'll have to turn right.
OK, got it. What's the name of your street?
It's Wesley Street, Wesley, number 70. We're the 5th house on the left. You should see a red letterbox and some bushes in front of the house.
OK, 5th house, number 70. I should be there soon. Am I late for the party? It sounds like things are happening there.
No, it's only just started.
That's good. I should be there in the next 10 minutes. See you soon.
Jack hangs up and walks on. 7 minutes later, he calls Margaret again, as he still can't find the house. You now have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. As you listen, answer questions 6 to 10.
Who's speaking?
Hi, Margaret. It's Jack again. Sorry to bother you. Listen, would you mind doing me a favour?
Of course, what?
Could you tell Mike I have got his camera? I've tried to send him a text message, but it's not going through.
Oh, he's not here yet.
Oh dear, he said he'd be there early. He might be lost too.
OK, I'll call him. What's his number?
0482 563379.
Oh, so that's 0485.
No, 0482 563379.
OK, I'll call him right away. But where are you now?
Well, I'm in your street, but I still can't find your house. I can't see the numbers very clearly, or a red letterbox. It's pretty dark. I thought you said it was easy to find.
Oh, OK, wait there. I'll come outside and get you.
All right then, and don't worry about calling Mike. I'll try to call him now. Hang on, there's someone coming down the street. It looks like Mike. Oh, and I can see the letterbox now. It was hidden behind a bush. See you soon.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2 on page 4 of your listening test booklet. Section 2. You will hear a recorded message giving information about an animal park. First, you will have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully to the first part of the message and answer questions 11 to 15.
Welcome to the Australian Wildlife Park Information Line. The Australian Wildlife Park is very proudly owned and operated by an Australian family, John and Amanda Brooks, who operate the Australian Wildlife Park with their children, David and Sandra. The family doesn't receive any government assistance. It's solely funded by tourists visiting the park. Thank you for your support and assistance. When the Brooks family purchased the Australian Wildlife Park in 1987, the park housed a small collection of animals and birds on a modest 5-acre or 2-hectare property. A few years later, the park doubled in size when the family purchased the adjoining property. Also, the collection of animals started to boom. In May 2003, the family designed and built a new park in the public open space, once again more than doubling in size. The park now features about 200 species with more than 2,000 head of animals, birds and reptiles. Regarding the entry fee, adults pay $23, children aged 3 to 14 pay $10, aged pensioners are $17 and students are $16. One of the great things about the Australian Wildlife Park is that all of the attractions are included in the entry fee. No extra money is needed around the park, so make the most of your experience. All shows, talks, photo opportunities and animal food are included in your entry fee. In addition, the Australian Wildlife Park is open every day of the year from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m, except Christmas Day, 25th of December.
Before the final part of the message, you now have 20 seconds to look at questions 16 to 20. Now answer questions 16 to 20.
Several attractions are available to visitors to the Australian Wildlife Park. Firstly, you can meet the koalas between 10 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Here, people can view the koala colony in a natural environment. Another attraction is to feed the kangaroos between 9 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Visitors can take a walk through the kangaroo enclosure, viewing them in a natural environment. Kangaroo food is provided and the kangaroos are very friendly. Also enjoyable are the wombats. At 11 a.m, 2 p.m. and 3:45 p.m, there are interactive shows where the team is delighted to introduce you to these popular animals. Other attractions that may interest you are an interactive farmyard, suitable for children of all ages. Animal food is provided and the animals are very friendly. In addition, the working farm is where the country comes to town. Visitors can milk a cow, bottle feed a lamb, watch farm dogs gathering the sheep. All the excitement of a real Australian farm. When they ask for volunteers, be sure to put your hand up. Everyone can get involved. We at the Australian Wildlife Park hope all our visitors have an enjoyable time. See you soon.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to Section 3 on page 6 of your listening booklet. Section 3. You will hear two students, called Richard and Shirley, discussing the information they have collected so far for a group project. First, you will have half a minute to look at questions 21 to 30. Now listen carefully to the conversation and answer questions 21 to 30.
Hi Shirley. Glad you could meet me at the weekend to talk about the research we have to do on energy.
Yes, Richard, I think it's important that we stay focused on the specific area of our research, energy consumption.
Did you know that the demand for electricity is growing faster than coal, oil and gas can supply it?
Yes, indeed. Coal and oil, which I discovered are also known as fossil fuels, could have disastrous effects on world climate.
My research supports you. I also found out that the weather could be affected by global warming.
However, a range of fuels are used around the world. Did you know that the most common fuels are the fossil fuels, with oil accounting for almost half at 45%? Coal and natural gas are equal next at 20%, with nuclear power being the lowest at 7%. Other sources of energy are also near the bottom at 8%.
Before the final part of the conversation, you now have 20 seconds to look at questions 27 to 30. Now answer questions 27 to 30.
That information will be useful when we look at the different energy sources in detail. We also need to look at the pros and cons of each type of energy. We've already said that fossil fuels increase the world's temperature, but we also need to mention the most serious issue, that these three types of fuel are finite, meaning they will not last forever. Another major disadvantage is that by burning coal and oil in particular, chemicals are released into the atmosphere, which combine with water to fall back to Earth and damage both plant and animal life.
That really sounds useful. If you focus on coal, oil and gas, I'll look into nuclear power. It is common knowledge that nuclear power stations create radioactive waste, but I'm particularly interested in how this unwanted waste product is dealt with safely. I'll also need to look at the effects on people living near these power stations.
Yes, I think all those areas need exploring. Do you think I should also look into renewable energy sources, such as wind and sun, energy that never runs out?
Don't you think it's an important area to consider?
Yes, but I don't think I'll have enough time to look at it in enough detail.
I also agree that we have enough to focus on until our next group meeting. So to finish, you could find some information on the advantages of fossil fuels, and I'll give you the facts that I have already on coal, oil and gas. We don't need to look into other energy sources because I'll get more details on the nuclear industry.
That's great. See you in 2 weeks' time.
That is the end of Section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to Section 4 on page 8 of your listening test booklet. Section 4. You will hear a talk from a series of lectures on the survival of our planet. Professor Sampson talks about endangered species of flora and fauna. First, you'll have half a minute to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully to the talk and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today's topic in this series of lectures on our planet is about ensuring the survival of our very important plant and animal species. In this lecture, I want to discuss one way that we can do this. No one will ever see a huge dinosaur thundering through the forest. No one will ever see a paradise parrot flash its rainbow colours across the sky. The fact is that many animals and plants have been wiped out. Sadly, they are extinct. It is too late for them. Extinction is forever. We can't do anything about the species that have already disappeared. But today, there are many animals and plants that could still become extinct in the future if we do not act now. They are endangered. The African elephant and rhinoceros have become endangered because of the value of their tusks. Australian parrots and reptiles are smuggled onto planes because certain people in other countries are prepared to pay thousands of dollars for them. And there are many other species around the world that are endangered because they no longer have a place in which to live and reproduce safely. The main cause of extinction is the destruction of habitats. A habitat contains all that a living thing needs to survive: space, light, water, food, shelter, and opportunities for reproduction. The population of the world is growing rapidly, and this is placing great demands on land and resources for housing and for growing food. When vegetation is cleared and swamps are drained for agriculture, mining and suburbs, or when rivers are dammed to store water, plants are destroyed and animal life is threatened. In other words, humans are changing and destroying the habitats of animals and plants, which is in turn reducing their chances of survival. So how can we conserve habitats and help save endangered species? Well, one way is to protect their habitats permanently in national parks or nature reserves. National parks have been created in many countries. They encourage people to enjoy the beauty and diversity of the animals and plants that live there without harming them. By supporting and visiting these parks, people can become more aware of the species that live there and how the parks work to protect them. It is very important that, when visiting a national park, we keep them safe for future generations of plants and animals by obeying a few rules. Firstly, follow the fire regulations. Don't throw cigarettes or build fires, except at certain times of the year in especially allocated areas and facilities. Secondly, remember to leave pets at home. Pets, such as cats or dogs, can hunt birds or other small animals. Some pets might even escape and become a serious threat. Thirdly, place all rubbish in a bin or take it home. Plastic bags or leftover food are dangerous to the animals and harm the environment. Don't pick the flowers or damage the plants. Flowers create the next generation of the plant. Also, for the same reason, birds' eggs must be left in their nests. The loss of species in the past is sad. However, there is hope for the future. Despite the demands of our increasing population, we can work to protect the plant and animal species we still have. So I would like to conclude by saying that I believe that, with strong public awareness and support of these national parks and reserves, the future of endangered species can be ensured.
That is the end of the listening test. You now have half a minute to check your answers. You now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the listening answer sheet. Practice Test 2. You will hear a number of different recordings and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. Write all your answers in the listening question booklet. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now, turn to section 1 on page 2 of your test booklet. You should answer the questions as you listen because you will not hear the recording a second time. Section 1. You will hear a mother, Shirley, talking to Kate, an admissions officer at a school. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 1 to 3. You will see there is an example which has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Good morning. You must be Shirley Peters. My name's Kate.
Yes, hello, I'm Shirley Peters. Nice to meet you.
You have a 10 o'clock appointment with us?
That's right. I'm supposed to go to the admissions office. Is that here?
Mrs. Peters has a 10 a.m. appointment, so you choose B, 10 a.m. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 3.
Good morning. You must be Shirley Peters. My name's Kate.
Yes, hello, I'm Shirley Peters. Nice to meet you.
You have a 10 o'clock appointment with us?
That's right. I'm supposed to go to the admissions office. Is that here?
Yes, it is. Please take a seat as I have several forms for you to fill in to enable you to enrol your son at this school. We have a form for your name, address and so on, one for the health of your son, and one for him to choose extra subjects to join in.
Thank you.
Now, firstly, this form is just so we have a record of your son's personal details. Can you fill it in for me?
Yes, I'll do that now.
Can I just check the details with you? Your son's first name is John.
No, that's his middle name after his father, Richard John. My son's name is Colwyn. Can you please spell it Colwin, not Colwyn, as some people do?
Yes, I'll make a note of that. And how old is Colwyn?
I've put down that he's entering year 6, so therefore he's 11 years old, turning 12 this year.
So at the moment, he's 11.
Yes, correct.
You now have some time to look at questions 4 to 10. Now answer questions 4 to 10.
Let's move on to your address. Do you live at 7 Watley Crescent, Mount Lawley?
Yes, that's right. The street is spelt Whatley Crescent in Mount Lawley.
Yes, I can see you've written that. Which phone number is best to contact you on?
Well, I'm out and about doing things during the day, so probably my mobile rather than the home number.
So that's 041 3325 888.
Yes, 041 3325 888.
Secondly, can you complete this form regarding your son's health?
Yes, I'll do it for you now.
Thank you. Now, can I go through the more important areas of this form with you to make sure our information is accurate?
Yes, of course.
Is your son taking any medication at the moment that the teachers will need to be aware of?
Yes, he has asthma, so he will be carrying his puffer in his school bag.
So he has a puffer. Is he allergic to anything?
Yes, peanuts. Actually, he should avoid all types of nuts.
That's okay, because we have a policy of not having any nuts in our school. Is there anything else that you think we should be aware of?
As I've written down, he also wears glasses, which he needs to keep on all the time.
I'll highlight that section on the form so his teacher will know about his glasses. Finally, this school has a wide range of interesting subjects that your son can participate in. Could you mark on this form what your son would like to do?
Yes, certainly. Here you are.
Firstly, it seems your son is particularly interested in football, so I'll make a note of that. Secondly, with regard to music, would you like him to start learning the piano in music class?
Yes, that would be fantastic.
Now, turning to art, I'll let his art teacher know that he likes drawing cartoons.
Wonderful.
Finally, let's look at languages now. Did you know that Mandarin was actually only started at the school this year?
Really? Well, I think Chinese would be the most useful, even though my son's friends have already been learning Indonesian and Italian.
Well, now we have all the information we require about your son. We hope he enjoys himself at our school.
I'm sure he will.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2 on page 4 of your listening test booklet. Section 2. You will hear a recorded message giving information about an area where tourists can visit to taste local food. First, you will have some time to look at questions 11 to 13. Now listen carefully to the first part of the message and answer questions 11 to 13.
Welcome to the tourist information line for the Valley Food Trail. Here you will find many local food products for you to sample and buy. It is possible for you to spend as much or as little time as you want, but I suggest that you allow a full day for touring this area. Of course, there are many half-day tours available for those of you short on time. Now, it's quite a large area and stretches from Brookville to Ford Hill. For those of you unfamiliar with the area, that means that it is 10 kilometres to 35 kilometres from the city centre, or by car 15 minutes to the closest point, continuing to 55 minutes at its furthest point from the CBD. Of course, apart from food, there are many other places of interest in this area, including cafes and restaurants and galleries and studios. But I wouldn't recommend you go here to see parks and gardens. The other information lines will give you specific information related to these particular attractions.
Before the final part of the message, you now have 20 seconds to look at questions 14 to 20. Now answer questions 14 to 20.
But let's go back to food. If we begin in Brookville and head north towards Upper Valley in a clockwise direction, passing West Valley on West Road, we cross over Coast Road to come to our first place of interest, Magic Coffee. This is not to be confused with the Coffee House, situated opposite on the other side of the valley on the railway line. Magic Coffee is next to the Chocolate Company, which is on the corner. Just past the ice cream shop on the corner of John Street is the Fresh Produce shop. A little further north, we have reached Ford Hill, where we can start our drive southwards along Great Northern Highway following the railway line. First, we come to the organic market near the corner of Memorial Avenue, and then to Olive Farm opposite Olive Road. Just before we come to the next street crossing, we see the Honey Pot, which is practically opposite the coffee house. There is another chocolate company which sells nougat as well, just nearby. Following the railway line along Great Northern Highway, we return back to Brookville. Now, as I have said previously, if you only have a few hours to spare, there are several places that you shouldn't miss. The two chocolate places make equally nice chocolate, but the factory has the added bonus of nougat, unlike the company. Of course, everyone loves ice cream, especially unusual flavours such as coffee and nougat, so the ice creamery is definitely worth a visit. And while the coffee house sells expertly made hot drinks, including hot chocolate, I think your time would be better spent sampling the many products on offer at the organic market. Well, I hope you enjoy your time visiting the Valley Food Trail and enjoy all the wonderful local foods on offer.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3 on page 6 of your listening test booklet. Section 3. You will hear an interview with Professor Green from a local university which enrolls a large number of overseas students in its courses. He is talking to Indra, a student representative, about the importance of attending lectures. First, you will have half a minute to look at questions 21 to 30. Now listen carefully to the interview and answer questions 21 to 30.
Good afternoon, Professor Green. Thank you for your time today. I wonder if you could explain why you think it is important for us to attend lectures in a course that we're studying.
Well, despite the increasing dependence on online communication these days, I do think it is important. Apart from delivering the content of the lecture itself, I believe that there are some general communication benefits from having large groups of students together in one place. For lecturers, it is an opportunity for us to address many students together at one time. For students, it helps you to feel part of the wider learning community who are following the course. You can interact with each other both before and after the lecture to discuss the ideas and content, networking with each other and comparing your notes.
But isn't most of this achieved, as you said, these days through online communication?
Well, lecturers do communicate with students online, of course, but we usually only give a summary or notes of the lecture, so there are significant differences. When you go to lectures, you get more of an insight into what the lecturer considers important. We give additional commentary and anecdotes, and by voice emphasis, we can alert you to the key concepts, theories and issues of the subject. By not attending lectures, you might miss crucial information about what we are expecting in an assignment. You know, these extra things can make a difference.
Okay, but there are tutorials. There is a lot of interaction between students and lecturers in tutorials. Can't all this be done in tutorial discussion groups instead of having lectures?
Yes, to some extent. But during lectures, the lecturers can sensitise you to the debates and the controversies that are dealt with in the literature. This can help you think more critically about the subject. So then, when you come to the tutorial, you'll be able to come with some questions and ideas for discussion. The result of this is that the tutorial class will be more beneficial for everyone who attends.
I see your point. However, surely this also depends on whether students are able to understand and follow the lecture well. What strategies do you recommend to help students get the most out of lectures?
I would say that first of all, it is important to do some pre-reading. By doing this, you get an orientation to the topic. You'll become familiar with the key terms and you'll be able to follow the lecture points more easily. I also think it is good to arrive early to collect handouts and to find a seat where it is easy to see and hear what is going on. Then, importantly, during the lecture itself, you need to be attentive.
I know from experience that it is often difficult to be attentive. What can students do to improve their attentiveness during the lecture?
I think that there are two keys to following a lecture successfully: using the visual cues and using active listening techniques. By maintaining eye contact with the lecturer and following how the lecturer makes use of the slides, whiteboard and so on, you are using the lecturer's visual cues, which help make the structure of the information clear and give you a sense of what's important. Then, using active listening techniques will also help you to process the information.
What do you mean by active listening techniques?
Well, you need to pay attention to the methods the lecturer uses to highlight important information. As I said before, in the spoken language of a lecture, we get the benefit of things such as stress and intonation, use of examples and anecdotes, as well as the language signals used to show relationships between ideas.
Yes, I see what you mean. These things will be missing in written summaries. And what about taking notes? Does that help?
Taking notes helps you to concentrate, so I would certainly advise you to do that. It's difficult to listen and write good notes at the same time, so it does take some training.
Yes, taking notes needs a lot of practice, I've found. Do you have any other advice?
Well, I can't finish without stressing the importance of formulating questions while you are listening. During the lecture, you should ask yourself questions about the content of the lecture and the points you are following. Ask questions like, what are the benefits or problems? What other examples are there? How does it work? Why does this happen? This will keep you focused and actively engaged in the content of the lecture.
Professor Green, thank you very much for your valuable tips and your time today.
You are very welcome.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4 on page 8 of your listening test booklet. Section 4. You will hear an expert on birds talking about sparrows, one of the most common bird species in urban and suburban environments around the world. The expert discusses some possible causes for their declining numbers. First, you will have half a minute to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully to the talk and answer questions 31 to 40.
Some people dislike sparrows and see them as annoying pests in their neighbourhood. Others see them as an interesting part of the urban environment. Love them or hate them, it could be that the familiar scene of these birds flying, hopping and chirping in our city streets will soon become a thing of the past. Until recently, there were so many sparrows around that people tried all kinds of methods to get rid of them. but it now seems that many people are starting to worry about the declining numbers of sparrows in many cities around the world. Over the past 20 or 30 years, sparrows have been disappearing throughout many parts of the world. In Britain, since the 1920s, the overall population of sparrows has declined by 92%. In London, they were once so plentiful that people who conducted regular surveys did not bother to count them because they were simply too common. Now there are none. This decline has also been recorded in some cities in continental Europe, parts of North America, and India as well. Some people will be surprised at this, as they probably still see many sparrows in their local neighbourhood. But whereas some suburbs may have large numbers of sparrows, in the next suburb there may be none. So, why are they disappearing rapidly in some areas, yet still exist in large numbers in others? Well, it is a bit of a mystery. Some say it is due to local issues. There are a number of factors here, one of which is harassment or predation. Other local animal species harass them, and domestic cats hunt them for food. Secondly, there is increased competition both for food and for nesting sites from other seed-eating birds in the neighbourhood. And thirdly, it is now more difficult for sparrows to make nests in modern buildings due to more effective modern building methods. Recent studies suggest that another reason may be related to a problem with the breeding success of the sparrows. Although they continue to breed, the young nestlings keep dying. These deaths have been linked to a lack of insects, such as aphids. This decrease in the availability of insects, it is believed, then causes the young nestlings to die of starvation or dehydration. It seems that there is a growing worldwide shortage of insects, and our modern urban lifestyle with the increasing use of motor vehicles is being blamed for it. It is suggested that the carcinogenic chemicals released into the atmosphere by unleaded car exhaust fumes is having an impact on insect numbers. Another theory, which is thought to be affecting sparrow numbers, is connected to our technological advancement. According to some experts, the mobile telephone towers that are now a feature of our modern cities emit electromagnetic radiation, which might affect the sparrow's central nervous systems and result in their death. The evidence is only circumstantial, and sparrows still continue to thrive in some major cities. However, it is interesting to note that in the 1990s, the use of mobile phones and unleaded petrol skyrocketed, and both coincide with the period of the sparrows' declining numbers in many modern cities.
That is the end of the listening test. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Practice test 3. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. Write all your answers in the listening question booklet. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now, turn to section 1 on page 2 of your test booklet. You should answer the questions as you listen because you will not hear the recording a second time. Section 1. You will hear 2 friends, Nancy and Fiona, catching up with each other. First, you will have some time to look at questions 1 to 6. You will see that there is an example which has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be repeated.
Hello, Fiona. I haven't seen you for ages.
Hi, Nancy. It must be 2 years, I think.
Has it been that long? It seems like yesterday that we were regularly catching up with each other on Friday mornings at that cafe around the corner from you.
It has been 2 years since Nancy has seen Fiona, so you circle B, 2 years. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Hello, Fiona. I haven't seen you for ages.
Hi, Nancy. It must be 2 years, I think.
Has it been that long? It seems like yesterday that we were regularly catching up with each other on Friday mornings at that cafe around the corner from you.
Yes, I remember our chats at Cafe Bellissimo over a nice hot coffee and cake. Do you still work part-time or are you busier now?
Well, actually, since I saw you last, I've had a baby girl who's with her grandmother at the moment, so I'm free to pay bills and do grocery shopping. What about yourself? What are you up to these days?
Well, actually, I've started my own business, so I'm pretty busy. I'd call it full-time work myself, although the hours are very flexible.
Wow, that sounds really fascinating. What sort of business is it?
Well, we were initially going to open a shop, but we thought it would be easier to sell our product online. And a market stall would have been too hard to manage. We also thought it would be a great idea to sell not just in Perth, but all over Australia as well.
So what do you sell?
We're selling children's costumes from around the world.
Interesting. How did you come up with the idea?
As you know, Perth is such a multicultural society. At my children's school, there are so many immigrant children. Many of the families find it difficult to get traditional things from their culture, including clothes for special celebrations. With our extensive business travelling over the years, we have made numerous contacts in many countries.
You now have 20 seconds to look at questions 7 to 10. Now answer questions 7 to 10.
So how many countries' costumes do you sell?
At the moment, I have a good range of countries. I have access to 10 from Africa and similarly from Asia with 10 nationalities. I have slightly more from the Americas with 13 and more again from Europe with 25. Unfortunately, I only have 6 for the Pacific region, but I'm expanding all the time.
When do you find time to run your business?
Well, that's the problem at the moment. I have so many things to organise, but I don't have enough time to do everything.
Do you see an accountant or do you do your tax yourself?
I get all of my receipts and expenses together, but then I go to an accountant who fills in my tax return as it takes me too much time.
What about your website? You said that your company's growing all the time.
Yes, it's true that my website continually needs to be updated, but it only takes me a short time each week to do it. So that is one area I can manage myself.
Do you advertise your business anywhere? Where do your customers come from?
It's interesting you should ask. Most of my business is word of mouth, but I do hand out a lot of business cards. I get them done by the local printer, although I must admit that they are rather plain. I need to add a little colour when I get time to redesign them in the future.
Well, it's been great catching up with you and finding out all about your business. I'm very interested in looking at your website when I get home.
Here's my business card so that you can email me for our next get-together. Don't bother about a babysitter next time. Bring your daughter with you, as I'd love to meet her.
That sounds like a great idea. See you soon.
Goodbye.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2 on page 4 of your listening test booklet. Section 2. The Overseas Students Club is organising a tour of the city to help new students to find their way around. You will hear the tour guide giving them a talk about what will happen the next day and some instructions as to what to do. First, you will have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully to the first part of the talk and answer questions 11 to 15.
Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you to our city. I hope that you will have an interesting and valuable experience with us. As you know, we're going on a tour tomorrow to show you some of the sites and the places of interest. So I would like to give you some instructions and some information to prepare you for tomorrow. It is important that we all meet at the same place at the same time. You should all be able to get into the centre of the city by train or bus from your homestay. We want to start our tour at 10 a.m, so you'll have to make sure that you leave home around 9:15 in time to arrive for us to start the tour at 10. If you are late, we will not be able to wait more than a few minutes, so I suggest that you take your mobile phone and have my number just in case. My number is 0482 557369. I will just repeat that so you can get it. 0482 557369. You can see Ms. Parker after the talk if you do not have her number, and she will be happy to provide it. It's good to have both our numbers just in case. Oh, and another thing. It is better to buy a one-way ticket because the tour will last for 3 hours and a return ticket lasts only for 2 hours.
Before the final part of the talk, you now have 20 seconds to look at questions 16 to 20. Now answer questions 16 to 20.
Now, we are meeting at the town hall. You should be able to make your way there from the bus or train stations, which are both in Flinders Street. It is only a short walk from both stations. If you're coming into the city by train, the town hall is straight ahead of you when you exit the station. Just walk up Collins Street and you will see it on the left after the traffic lights. If you come in by bus, you will need to turn right at the exit, then take the first street left, which is Collins Street. You will see the town hall on your maps. So if you have your maps with you, it's a good idea to mark the route now. Now, there will probably be quite a few people around in the city when you arrive, so it is important that we can find each other. Please don't go inside the building. We should all meet outside on the steps of the town hall to make sure we don't miss anyone. From there, we will be visiting a few places of interest. We will make our way to the library, which is in the same street. It will take us about 10 minutes on foot. It is a good library for students, so we'll be giving you about 20 minutes to have a look around at the facilities. That probably won't be enough time for all of you to join the library, so you'll have to come back at another time to do that. It might be a good idea to pick up a membership form before you leave. From the library, we will turn right into William Street, where you will see a cinema on the left. This is popular with the students, and it shows some interesting art house movies. On the way, you might want to check out what is showing there at the moment. Diagonally opposite the cinema is the art gallery. There will be time, about 15 minutes, for a quick look at some of the exhibits. You will probably want to return by yourself for a longer visit another time. From there, we will walk up to the main street, which is Wellington Street on your maps. It's around the next corner from the art gallery, and we'll show you some cheap but excellent restaurants, as well as cafes and bars, which I'm sure you will find useful in your free time. They are frequented by many of the students here, so I recommend that you come back later to sample the food and atmosphere. It is a good way to meet some of the local students as well. Well, I said that it would take about 3 hours. This is because we will be stopping at the park for a picnic lunch. The park is a 15-minute walk along the main street from the restaurant area. We will be supplying the lunch for everyone, so you won't need to bring anything. However, you will need to bring or buy your own drinks. If anyone has any special dietary requirements, please see me or Ms. Parker after this talk. Oh, and please make sure that you wear some comfortable clothes. Sensible walking shoes are advisable, as you will be doing quite a lot of walking. It is also a good idea to bring some sunscreen and a hat, as the sun can be quite strong at this time of the year. Finally, although the tour is free, you might want to bring some extra money with you for drinks or souvenirs. Well, I hope you all enjoy the tour and get to know each other. I'm sure we will have a great day. Now, anyone who needs to see me?
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3 on page 6 of your listening test booklet. Section 3. You will hear a student, Sandra, talking to a student advisor about her approaching exam. First, you will have half a minute to look at questions 21 to 30. Now listen carefully to the conversation and answer questions 21 to 30.
I've got an exam tomorrow and I'm worried about how it will go. Do you have any tips? I think I'm well prepared. I've done all the revision and I've been practicing lots of exam questions, but I still feel nervous about the exam itself.
I know what you mean. But if you're well prepared, you should be fine. You just need to stay calm and keep reminding yourself that you are prepared.
That's easy to say, but in an exam, unexpected things happen.
Well, there are a few things that I found helpful. You don't want to run out of energy or feel sleepy during the exam, so make sure you eat something beforehand. Also, it's a good idea to leave home early to allow for any traffic jams or parking problems. You don't want to arrive late, or even worse, miss the exam altogether.
That's good advice. But if I get there too early, I might start getting nervous while I'm waiting.
That can happen, especially if you start talking to others about the exam. You know how they can start saying things like, "There's bound to be a question on such and such," or "Most people failed this subject last year." I found that this kind of talk can just make you panic. So if you arrive very early, read through your notes while you are waiting. I think you'll find it helps you to stay calm.
Okay. What about during the exam? I keep thinking about the things that can go wrong.
Well, I think the most important piece of advice would be to read the instructions and questions carefully. Make sure you know how many questions and sections there are so that you don't miss any. Then make sure you know how you're expected to answer them.
Yeah, it would be terrible to fail because I missed a whole question or section.
That's right. Timing is also important. You don't want to miss a question because you run out of time either. Allocate a time for each question and stick to it. And because timing is vital during an exam, I always wear a watch just in case there isn't a clock in the exam room. It helps to keep you on track. Also, if you see that time is running out, briefly answer or just guess the answer to as many of the questions as you can.
Yes, especially for multiple choice questions. I could be lucky and select the correct one.
True. Even if you don't know the answer, you could still gain valuable marks by guessing. Another important thing is to write the number of words required for an essay question. If your essay is too long or too short, you could lose a lot of marks. You could also waste a lot of time. And I have seen students do badly because they spent too much time on one essay, then didn't have enough time left to complete another one. So look to see how many marks are allocated for each essay and divide your time accordingly.
Thanks. Look, this is all terrific advice, but what if I suddenly start to panic or get a memory block in the middle of the exam?
Well, you have to think positively. You know you are prepared and you know that you can pass. As soon as you feel yourself starting to get panicky, relax and take slow, deep breaths. You should allow yourself to take a few seconds to stretch your arms, legs, neck and back occasionally too. I found that this helps. It can also be useful if you start to feel physically tired during the exam.
Yes, I can see how that could help. I'm feeling more relaxed as we speak.
Good. Oh, and one more thing. It's not a good idea to leave the room before the time is up, even if you have finished all the questions. Spelling, grammar and punctuation mistakes can make a difference to your marks. So try to leave some time at the end for checking your answers.
I don't think I'll be leaving early somehow. Look, you've been really helpful. I'm very grateful.
Not at all. You're welcome. Just remember that you've worked hard on your preparation and you are familiar with the exam. Think positively and stay calm. I'm sure you will do well. Good luck for tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4 on page 8 of your listening test booklet. Section 4. You will hear a talk by a financial advisor about debt. First, you will have half a minute to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully to the talk and answer questions 31 to 40.
Welcome to today's public lecture on the topic of personal debt. I'm Ray Goodman from the Community Debt Centre, and I'd like to present to you today the second part of our 3-lecture series. Today we're going to look at how debt affects our lives. Debt is nothing new. It's found throughout human history and in every society. Many people know what it feels like to be in debt. Those of you who have bought a house will probably have a mortgage. Perhaps you have borrowed money from family or friends or got a loan for a car. Debt can sometimes be a way of juggling financial commitments and of paying in advance for things that you really need. For everyday living, you might not earn enough money from your job to pay for all the things that you need. You may require a little extra money in the form of credit cards. But debt has a darker side. Imagine how you would feel if you were deeply in debt and unable to repay what you owed. The consequences for many people can be disastrous. Today, people in the richer countries of the world live in a society where credit is easily accessible. Banks, building societies and credit card companies often encourage people to take out loans. They then make money by charging interest. For very low income earners, borrowing from a bank can be impossible. Instead, they are forced to take out a much higher interest loan from a private lender. They soon find that despite cutting back on many essentials, they are unable to keep up with these repayments. They are forced to take out another loan and find themselves plunging deeper and deeper into debt. People can find themselves with growing debts if they are unable to repay interest. This may be because of a sudden life-changing event, such as a business failure or losing a job. But for many households, debt is a means of survival. In developing countries, people borrow a tiny sum of money from a local landowner, for example, to pay for medical treatment. They agree that a child would work as a full-time servant to repay the debt, and that child becomes a bonded labourer. But since they are never paid, there is no hope of clearing the debt. Their life is ruled by fear. With no money, education or experience of life, it is impossible for them to escape. Today, debt bondage is a major form of slavery. As you can see, debt affects everyone all over the world to varying degrees. I hope the information I have presented to you today will make you think twice about getting into spiralling debt. Of course, if you are already finding yourself in financial difficulties, please make an appointment to see one of our helpful staff members after this talk. Thank you.
That is the end of the listening test. You now have half a minute to check your answers. IELTS preparation and practice, listening and speaking. Speaking audio samples. Here you will find recordings of speaking tests. Listen to these and evaluate them for yourself. In your book, you can read feedback on the speaking performance of the candidates. Interview with Myrtle.
Can you give me your name?
Oh, my name is Myrtle.
And where are you from?
From Hong Kong.
Could I see your identification? Thank you. Now, in the first part of the test, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. Are you working or studying?
I'm working.
What job do you do?
I just helping my husband's work because she's got a one shop doing the noodles. So generally, I'm just working assistant for him. Yeah.
Why did you choose this job?
Because my husband's got a lot of experience. So this is not only one person can do that. So he want me to help him to start this business. So my kids already growing up, so I can help him now.
Is there a lot of responsibility in your job?
Yes. Because we need to prepare a lot of things. So generally, it's from morning we did the preparation and then start work, and I need to doing a lot of paperwork as well. So that's why my husband cannot do it by himself. So I need to do that.
Thank you. I'd like to talk to you now about school subjects.
Yeah.
What was your favourite school subject?
I like commercial things like the accounting, the word processing, just like general type something like this. Because when I'm in the school, I'm learning from that. So I'm interested in that.
Which subject do you feel was most useful to you?
What subject? I think I pretty like the music. Yeah, because when I'm young, I learned from my primary school. So my teacher's quite good. And she said my sound's quite bright. So give me a confidence to do that. So I like music, yeah.
Do schools in your country concentrate more on academic subjects?
Not really, because I'm learning in the technical school. I'm still study the cooking, needlework, so like this. So not totally for the papers, yeah.
Thank you. What new subjects do you think it would be good for children to learn in school?
I think the more creative one, like they making their own things, they think of their mind, they open their mind. They'll be good.
Thank you. Let's talk about clothing now.
Yeah.
Does your country have a traditional costume?
Yes, because we belong to China. I'm Chinese, so the Chinese got a lot of the costume to wearing. Depends which one dynasties. They got a different one. Yeah.
What sort of clothing do you wear in the different seasons?
Clothings. I think it's because the Hong Kong's weather's not very cold, so even though they belong to the British a long time, so very close to the Western style. So the winter time and the summertime's similar to Western style. Yeah.
Do people in your country follow the fashion trends?
Yes, definitely.
Why?
Because a lot of the other countries, they export to their own style and attractive to peoples, and the price is quite good, so they can afford it. That's why they're very sensitive for the fashion.
Thank you. Now, in this part of the test, I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes.
Yep.
You can make some notes if you want. Here's your topic.
Okay.
I would like you to describe your favourite meal. All right?
Yep.
Now you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I interrupt you.
Okay.
Can you start speaking now, please?
Okay. I like Chinese food because I'm Chinese, so I know how to cook that. Also, the Chinese food I got more variety to choose. They from south and north styles. So simply, the south one is a very light flavor and fresh flavor because they are warm and more choices to choose. The north one is the taste more tasty, and for me, I like the simple things because their one is easy for me and always easy to prepare. When I'm home, I will always prepare the veggies, meats, and fish because there is can balance the healthy life. I won't cooking always one taste at home because we'll get my kids bored. So normally I will making some soup, Chinese soup. They will making a little bit longer because when the time they can get a more tasty one and a healthy one. And also I like the fish because the fish they can making the bones calcium to get a healthy with my kids. The veggie is fried bread. Fried bread is can more easier to digest here. And then the meat one, because my boys, they already is in the teenage, they need to know more meats to help in their easy growing up. That's why this is my main food always at my home.
Thank you. Now, we've been talking about your favourite food.
Yeah.
And I'd like to discuss some related questions with you.
Okay.
Let's talk about fruit and vegetables in your country. What are some of the typical fruits and vegetables eaten in your country?
I think in Hong Kong, mainly the people like the pork. And they can choose the beef or lamb, but mainly it's pork. I don't know why this is traditional, so that's why with my young, from my young to now, my mom's so always making mainly pork for us, so that's why. And we trying to beef because Hong Kong is the very international city, so they put a lot of the other countries' food in there. So I will try some Western style, but mainly it's pork.
What fruit and vegetables do you eat in Hong Kong?
Mainly it's Chinese vegetables, the green stuff, and it's very fresh right now, very cooking a long time. So they will, mainly it's a Chinese veggies, a lot of variety of Chinese veggies.
Why do people like the Chinese vegetables?
Because they do need to, they're making their own, they plant in their own, so it's very fresh. So that's why they're choosing this one.
In Hong Kong, do you have many fruit and vegetables from other countries?
Yes, definitely from like Australia, America, yes, because they need it, not enough in Hong Kong.
And how do you buy your fruit and vegetables in Hong Kong? Do you go to open markets or supermarket?
Normally, the people will go into the open market because each estate, they've got the open markets in that one. So more convenience, just only a few minutes walking in there. They still got some supermarket, but the people's mind thinks the open market was more fresh than the supermarket.
And what about the cost? Which is cheaper, the open market?
Open markets cheaper than the supermarket.
Do you think the vegetables in the open market are healthier?
I think so, because every day they will come in from the central markets, and then they will separate the things, so it's more fresh than supermarket.
Let's talk about farming in your country. How much traditional farming is there now in your country?
So Hong Kong is not too much a farmer because of a very small place. So they mostly exports from China mainland. So I think the mainland is more bigger.
Is there enough water for the markets, the fresh growing markets that you talked about? Is there enough water in Hong Kong to supply?
I think this is enough, but they already got another things to do. Is every year they will buy some waters from the mainland, because the mainland say that they always support to Hong Kong, so they will buy some waters from there.
Can you tell me, in the future, what natural or man-made disasters could affect the supply of food in Hong Kong?
I think they will open markets, all variety food they will supply. So, but Hong Kong is very a lot of Chinese in there, so the mainly is Chinese foods to there. But I know that some of the plots is a lot of the variety foods in the area they can choose. So mainly it's Chinese.
Does bad weather affect the food supply in your country?
Yes, definitely.
What sort of weather?
Like the summertime, they got a lot of the tropical cyclone. They will affect that. Yeah, so the price will growing up.
Thank you. That's the end of the IELTS speaking test.
Thank you.
Interview with Sean.
And what shall I call you?
Please call me Sean.
Sean, okay.
That's my English name.
I see. And where are you from, Sean?
I'm from Nanjing City, the east part of China.
Mm-hmm. And before we go on, I'd like to know a little bit about you. Do you study or do you work?
I'm working now.
Mm-hmm. And what job do you do?
I'm mining processing engineer.
Mm-hmm. And what do you enjoy most about your job?
My job I enjoy most, I think, it's see the product and from the assembly line. It's my favorite.
Mm-hmm. So, would you like to do something different in the future?
Yes, I think so.
And what's that?
I'm not sure, but maybe do some trade or some working in different sector.
Mm-hmm. I see. Thank you. I'd like to move on and talk about cycling. How often do you ride a bicycle?
In Australia, I never ride a bicycle, but in China, every day I ride a bicycle just for walking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is it common or uncommon for people to cycle in your country?
Yes, it's very common. Because compare with car, maybe if you just ride a bicycle, it's more organic, it's more green.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can save a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good for carbon emission. So,
Do many children in your country cycle to school?
yes, I think so. You can see in every morning or every afternoon, just after school, you can see many students, they ride a bicycle by themselves. It's quite weird.
Are you required to wear a helmet when you cycle in your country?
No, there's no requirement about you want to wear the helmet.
Why not?
I think they think that if you ride the bicycle, maybe the speed is very slow, so there's no need to wear a helmet. Maybe sometimes they think that's we are inconvenience to wear the helmet.
Let's move on. Let's talk about TV talent shows.
Yeah.
Are there many TV talent shows on TV in China?
Yes.
And are they popular?
It's very popular, especially in youngs in China.
Why?
I think because in current circumstance, maybe, and there's no maybe some difference in youngs in the world. They have a common hobby, they have common interesting things. So I think that's maybe it's like some current.
What about for older people? Are these TV shows popular with older people in China?
Not so popular in older people. They have their different hobbies.
So do you enjoy watching TV talent shows?
Actually not.
Why not?
Because I think there's no useful information from the talent show. Maybe it's just enjoy the TV show, singing and dancing. That's all. I can't learn something just from the talent show.
Yeah.
So it's my personal opinion.
Yeah. Would you ever enter a TV talent show?
No, never ever.
Well, now I'm going to give you a topic.
Okay.
And I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say, and you can make some notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah. So here is your topic. Describe something in the news which happened in your country or region. All right.
Yeah.
Remember, you have to speak for 2 minutes, and I'll tell you when the time is up. So can you start speaking now, please?
Yes. In recent days, I heard about a news from China, just in west part of China, big bus just crashed with a truck. This truck is carrying chemical materials. So when the bus hit the truck, and because of the chemical material, so bus get ignited. So that caused 36 people died, and include 9 students. So it's a big tragedy for China, for also for people. So why this happened? And just from the news, because I think the transportation, the company want to pursue the biggest profit. So maybe they makes the bus constantly running. So the bus driver got tired at the moment. So maybe he couldn't control the bus quite well. So get a mistake and to crash it with the industry truck. So since then, Chinese government has announced to prohibit and all the bus drivers they can't drive the bus and in every midnight.
Thank you. Yeah. So do you usually follow the news in your country?
Yeah.
Thank you. Can I have the paper and the pencil and the booklet? Now, let's talk more about the news and the media.
Yeah.
Yeah? First of all, the sources of news. In your city, how many daily newspapers are available?
In my city, I think there's some have a big influence. Newspaper have 7 or 8. So it's some just from the central government, from the countrywide range.
Yeah.
Just some from the local government, local area.
But quite a range to have 7.
Quite a range from a different level.
Yeah.
Maybe from the country level have 3 or 5. From the province level have 1 or 2. Just from local maybe have 4 or 5.
Yeah.
It's kind of.
So, which do you prefer as a source of news? The newspaper, the internet, or TV?
Now I prefer the internet. Because why I prefer internet? Because the news from internet it's very quickly and easily. Also got some picture or some video. It's quite nice. You can get directly and information just from the internet.
So in the future, do you think newspapers will disappear?
I don't think so.
No?
Maybe just newspaper had other advantages just for newspaper.
What advantages?
One, just for some people, they like to read newspaper because it's a paper, and in newspaper it contain a lot of information. You can easily to save some useful information in some corner of your house.
Yes.
If you want, sometime you want to review it, you can easily take it. So,
whereas with the internet, you can't. It's gone.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's talk about working in the media. Would you like to be a journalist?
Yes.
Why?
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Just for a journalist, because his journalist duty is quite different and from other career, because and for a journalist he can get some information, also can disclose some cover just about the truth of the incident or accident. So people always get some news and find some justice or some, and also you can experience some very interesting event. So you can get more and more knowledge just from different event. So,
which do you think is more powerful? The news from a photo or the news from a story?
I think it's based on the different scenario or from the news background. If you just from it's a series report, they need a story to constantly to report it. This kind of things. But if you just some touring or some just for some tourist, also just for some event, maybe you just on the photo is quite impressive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think that working as a newspaper reporter is different nowadays than in the past?
Yes, I think so.
How?
In the old days, because as the technology improved, so the people maybe he can get a lot of information from internet, newspaper, radio, also from the TV. So it's quite different from maybe thousands of years ago. Maybe for that time, people just only get information just from radio or from newspaper. Maybe kind of easily to get some very direct, like a picture or some video. But now people can easily to directly get a very impressive picture, video. So it's quite different, I think.
Well, thank you very much. That is the end of the test.
Thank you too.
Interview with Adriana.
What shall I call you?
Adriana.
Adriana. Adriana, where are you from?
I'm originally from Romania. I migrated here.
Could I see your identification, please?
Yes, there you go.
Thank you, that's
Thank
fine.
you.
Now, in the first part of the test, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. Let's talk about what you do. Are you working or studying at the moment?
I just finished studying and I'm looking for work right now.
Well, let's talk about your studies that you've just completed. What course did you study?
It's not a course, it was 2 units for overseas bridging studies. Well, one was company law and one was taxation, Australian taxation.
Why did you decide to study this course?
It was needed to be acknowledged as an accountant, so this was still missing, these 2 units.
Which parts of your course do you think will be most useful to you in your future career?
I think both of them, because they're Australian company law and taxation, that was really necessary, otherwise you can't practice.
Thank you. Let's talk about making plans now. What do you normally make plans about?
Plans about having another kid, a house, a job, that sort of thing, just normal, really, normal goals.
Thank you. What do you use to organise your life? For example, a diary or an organiser?
We don't use that, really. That's formal, more like planning, but if you know what you have in mind, that's okay. I mean, you don't really have to write it down. Probably some other people need it. I don't know, we don't use it.
Do you usually stick to your plans?
Well, you have to be very flexible. That's it. You never know what comes the way, so you don't have to be rigid on something. You have to be really flexible. Yes.
Do your plans usually work out?
Well, yeah, most of the time. Most of the time, yes.
Why?
Not always. Well, depends on who do you meet along the way, who helps you, in which direction you make the decision, and that may take you further on down the track, not the right one probably, so you have to come back again.
Thank you. Let's talk about families now. In your country, is an extended family system with parents and grandparents all living together more common, or a nuclear family system?
No, it's more a bigger family, yes, of everybody together, parents, grandparents, yes, more like that. Family-centered, yes.
On what occasions do families meet together?
On every occasion, like birthday, funerals, marriages, kids, vacation. Mostly vacation, when everybody's free.
Thank you. What do you like best about your family?
I never thought about it. Yeah, they're all nice, helpful. So, yeah, they're really sweet. Welcome. They just welcome everybody.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to give you a topic and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Now, before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say, and you can make some notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yes.
Here's your topic. Here's some paper and a pencil. I'd like you to describe a time when you were worried about something, for example, an exam, safety, or taking a risk.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now remember, you've a couple of minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Okay. We do worry quite a lot, yes. If I have an exam, even if I prepare, I still feel worried. Depends on what subject I might get. So Yes, I worry. It doesn't matter how tiny thing it is. You just can't stop worrying a little bit or be scared of something. So yes, but you go along with it. For example, with my exams, yes, I did study. I didn't feel I was 100% on it. So I was really worried because it was difficult, another language, another things, so many words new. So you can't remember it all, but you give it your best shot. And that's it. Yeah, about taking a risk. Yes, I did take a huge risk, let's say like that. I wasn't married and I was pregnant and I had to choose between making an abortion or keep the baby. And I did keep it and I don't mind at all, even if the other people thought I was really crazy, but it didn't matter. In the end, all turned out all right. So yeah, you take the risk, otherwise you can't do it. And I did have friends that really were worried about my decision, yeah, but they were really supporting, so that's what really counts in the end. How many people are near you, so helping you, supporting you with that decision, so you don't feel that anxious so much, you feel safe and you know you took the right decision, so that's it, practically.
Do you think it's silly to worry?
Oh no, it's not silly really. We all worry. I think we all do. You just need to go along and see what happens. You just take the chance and risk it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I have the booklet and the paper and pencil back? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, we've been talking about a time when you worried about something, and I'd like to discuss with you one or two more general questions related to this. Let's talk about worrying and health. Tell me some of the ways that worrying all the time can affect our health.
Oh, it's not that wise to worry all the time, really. I mean, you worry for a big exam, you worry for your kids. If something might happen to them, but you can't just be all tense all the time. You just have to be positive and really outgoing for something new. You have to try it, not hold back every time. I mean, you have the facts, you see them, good or bad. You choose the middle way in between, and you take the risk, but not worry that much. That could turn out in the wrong direction.
How sick can some people get when they worry?
Oh, really bad. Yeah, they got so stressed out that they can't do anything. They're maybe too scared to go for an exam, let's say. So it's really worrying sometimes.
Does it, do they have any physical symptoms?
Yes, like throwing up or maybe shaking or, I don't know, fainting, some of them. Or they just feel sick. You don't know what the reason is. So it's because of that worrying.
Tell me, can you give me some strategies that things that we can do to stop worrying when we find ourselves worrying? What are some sort of helpful things that we can do to stop?
Oh, take a deep breath. That would really help. Maybe try to warm up, because when you get scared, you feel a little shaky and a little cold. So you need maybe a good tea or something to eat. That really helps. Keep your mind busy with something else. Or maybe have a lemon. That really helps sometimes.
Would you say worrying is always a bad thing? Or can there be... Why is that?
I don't agree. Worrying is good, but till one point when you go downwards. So it's really, how do you say it? Not entertaining, useful at some point. Because you don't go beyond some points. Because you're careful. So it's a good thing. Yeah, you just have to find the way that suits you best. And not go beyond the point where it got worse.
Let's talk about worrying in general. Do you think people worry more as they get older?
Not really. It's more like boring when you get older and you try to find new things to keep you busy. That's the problem. Not really about worrying. You worry about going, I don't know, about your kids, about your family, but you worry more like about death. I'm sorry to say that. But no, you not get too worried. You just get too busy and too bored, and that's when you try to find something else to keep you busy.
Do you think men and women have different worries?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, men are more, I don't know, my husband says it's more so realistic, so simple things, they don't go in deep things, we cut the things in 4, 8, like 16 pieces, and we try to make the puzzle. So we do worry a lot more than men. Yes.
How much do the media give us things to be worried about?
Oh, I don't know exactly. Probably quite a lot sometimes, because they try to manipulate you through television, so we don't watch much television. But you read the newspaper and they're all kind of worrying news about economics, about whatever they choose to advertise to make money. So they do manipulate you quite a lot. You have to read carefully through it.
Do you think there are some people who are always pessimistic about life in general?
Oh yes, definitely. There's some.
Why do you think
that?
Why do you think they have that outlook?
Probably because they don't see the best thing in what they have at the moment. You don't look at the empty glass that you see, even if it's half full. They look at it as it's empty. We look at it, the positive ones look at it, it's almost full. That's the difference of looking.
And how worried are you about the future of the Earth?
Oh, if you put it that way, we should be really, really, really worried.
Why?
Yes, because God will give us something to think about. Yeah, definitely.
Do you think we live in worrying times now in the 21st century? Do you think there's more to worry about today in the 21st century than there was even 20, 30 years ago?
It just changed, I think, some things, or the priorities in worrying, let's say. It did change quite a lot, yes. Even my grandparents' days, they didn't worry about thieves, about letting the kids play out in the street. Now we do worry that somebody's gonna kidnap him or kill him or sell him for organs or whatever they advertise in the television. So it's more like channeling the worries in other direction that they used to be. Yes.
Thank you. That's the end of the speaking test.
Interview with Tren Liang.
And what shall I call you?
Please call me Tren Liang.
And where are you from, Chen Lian?
I'm from China.
Well, first of all, I'd like to know something about you. So let's talk about where you live currently. Are you living in a suburb or in the city centre?
Near suburb, city west.
And are you happy in this place?
Yes.
Why are you happy there?
Because it's very close to the workplace, close to the city centre, convenient, has convenient transportation.
And what kind of house or apartment do you live in?
I live in an apartment. It's a 6-story apartment.
And would you like to change anything about where you are currently living?
No, that's, I think the current living conditions is comfortable and enough for my requirement.
Let's move on and let's talk about water for drinking. How much water do you usually drink every day?
Probably 2 liters.
And why is that?
It's good for health to drink at least 2 liters of water every day.
So do you buy water or do you bring it from home? Or how do you get the water that you drink?
Normally I drink tap water.
Is it possible to drink the water from the taps in your country?
No.
Why not?
Because the water was not processed to the standard that can become a drinkable water.
So what do you think of the water quality of the place where you live now?
The water quality is good in Perth. It's safe to drink directly from tap.
Let's move on and let's talk about warm clothing. In your country, how often do people need to wear warm clothing?
Probably at least 4 months during the winter time.
Yeah, and why is that?
Because in winter the temperature could reduce to as low as minus 10 degrees. It's essential to put on warm clothes.
So what do people wear in your country when the weather is at its coldest?
People usually wear a sweater inside and have some coat, like a down coat outside.
So do you own more than one jacket or coat?
Yes.
And what types are they?
There's two downfield and coat.
What materials are warm clothes generally made of?
Generally, they are made from cotton, wool, or down.
Why is that, do you think?
Because these materials can keep people warm.
Let's move on and let's talk about cycling. Do you like cycling?
Yes.
Why do you like it?
Cycling is an essential way of transport, especially in China. So,
Is it still common for people to cycle in your city?
yes.
And why is that?
Because bicycle is cheap and it's very convenient to have a short travel, less than like 5 kilometers or something.
Do many children in your country cycle to school?
Yes, children in middle school usually cycle to school.
And are you required to wear a helmet when you cycle in your country?
Not required.
Why not?
I don't know exactly the reason. Probably the government has no requirement, no rules about cycling.
Thank you. Well, now I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about the topic for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you speak, you will have 1 minute to prepare and think about what you want to say. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah. So here is your topic. Describe a well-known building in your town or city. All right. Remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I interrupt you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Yes. A well-known building in Jinan City is the capital city of Shandong Province, where I came from. It's a railway station in Jinan. It was designed by a Germany. It's by a German architect and was built in early 19 centuries. Yeah. At that time, Shandong Province was a part of like an influential area of German. So they built the railway link from Jinan to Qingdao, capital coast city. So the railway station in Jinan looks like a church with a sharp top. It's made of blocks of stone. It looks very solid. It is well known because of it is the only one this style of building in China. But unfortunately, the local government was not knowing the value of that building. It was torn down probably 10 years ago. Many people feel regret that this building should be reserved.
Thank you. So do most people in your town like that building very much?
Yes.
Thank you. Can I have the paper and pencil? And yeah, thank you. Now, we've been talking about a very famous building in your town, and I'd like to talk some more about buildings. Yeah? First of all, let's talk about office buildings and commercial buildings. Are the modern office and commercial buildings in your town similar to the buildings built in the past?
I think the modern building is quite different from the past. In the past, there are not very much modern buildings. The offices are mainly occupied by the government agencies.
Yeah.
And or some state-owned factories.
So you'd say they're very different in style?
Yeah, different in style. They are like some Soviet style. With the blocks and not very large window.
Yes. So quite different. Which ones do you prefer?
We prefer the modern one now.
Yeah.
We learn from, I think, American. Did a lot of high-rise skyscrapers.
So what are the advantages of modern buildings over older buildings?
The modern buildings use some advanced materials and technology. They are more comfortable to work inside and has a more efficient in terms of energy usage.
Yeah. So today in China, do they still use the older government buildings for offices?
Yes. Some of the buildings are still used, but they were fabricated, refabricated, and furbished up to some modern standard.
Yes. Let's talk about safety when new buildings are being planned. Do you think that, or what kinds of safety measures should be considered when a new building is being planned?
A new building should be used some environmentally friendly material. It should be designed to consider the possible risks of fire or earthquake.
So which one of those possibilities is greater in China, the fire or the earthquake?
I think earthquake.
Yes. So you're saying that the building should have flexibility in case there is some kind of earthquake or disaster?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think enough attention is given to this in China when they build a new building?
Yes, there are laws to regulate safety standards of new buildings.
Let's talk about restoring old buildings. Who do you think should pay to restore old buildings, the government or private companies?
I think the private companies.
Why?
These old buildings in China, they usually used as some scenic spots. They can make money from tourists, for tourism. So they generally run like a company.
So you think because they're making money from the building, then they should pay for it? Yeah. Do you agree or disagree that city buildings should be attractive as well as functional?
Yes, I think but functional first. Yeah, attractive is also necessary because there are a lot of people living in city. So a good appearance is quite important.
And perhaps it helps tourism as well, if the buildings are attractive.
Yes, just like the Sydney Opera now become a famous sport.
Yes. Some people think that working in a modern office in a high-rise can be bad for your health. Do you agree?
I don't think so. The important part is everyone should have their own exercise plan. After the work, you do some extra exercise. That would be fun.
Yes. So you think it's up to the individual person rather than the building? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. That's the end of the speaking test.
Thank you.
Interview with Monica.
And what shall I call you?
Just Monica. Yeah.
Monica, thank you. And where are you from, Monica?
I'm from Brazil.
Brazil. Could I see your identification, please?
Yes, it's here.
Thank you very much. That's fine. Now, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. Let's talk about what you do. Do you study or do you work?
I work. I'm working full-time at the moment.
And what job do you do?
I'm a data entry operator at the moment. Yeah, I work from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Yeah, basically it's 7 hours in front of the computer. So it's kind of exciting to me.
Would you like to have more responsibility in your job?
Maybe, yeah, but I used to think that I have to get things perfectly first, and then I can go to the next level, maybe, yeah.
Are you prepared to do any further study?
No, at the moment, yeah.
Thank you. Let's move on to talk about farms and farming. How important is farming in your country?
In my country, it's very important. It's really important because you produce coffee. I don't know if you knew it. You produce coffee, really good coffee, Brazilian one. And you have to have really good producers to allow this coffee to be imported outside the country, so it's really important.
Does your country still use many traditional farming methods?
Yes, definitely.
And does your country need to import a lot of its food?
Yes, it's for our economy. It's really important.
Thank you. What animals are important in farming in your country?
Cows, the milk, of course, and pigs for meat. Yeah, that's the most.
Thank you. Let's talk about writing now. What sort of things do people need to write about in your country?
There's such a variety of things. Weather broadcasts, and nowadays you have celebrity news coming all the time. So that's sort of stuff that we write.
Would you say people write more letters or emails nowadays?
Definitely emails, definitely, yeah. Not so much in Brazil, but all over the world. Nobody writes letters anymore. It's just emails, electronic devices.
How important is handwriting nowadays?
Handwriting, I think you've lost a little bit of handwriting because electronic devices has come in nowadays. So I don't think nobody writes anymore.
Do you think creative writing, such as writing stories and poems, should still be taught in school?
Definitely, I think so, because that's is part of our history, so definitely should be good. That's good.
Thank you. Now I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Now, before you speak, you'll have 1 minute to prepare or make some notes. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Here's some paper and pencil for making notes. And here's your topic. I'd like you to describe a time you or someone you know did something wrong. All right?
Yes.
Now remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes for this. Don't worry if I interrupt you.
I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Yes, I can. So my husband and I were in this multicultural celebration at King's Park, and then suddenly he disappeared with my daughter, and I got really scared, and I started looking for them like for about half an hour and nothing, and then I started to ask people in the celebration, like, have you seen a man, Italian looking, and a 2-year-old little girl, and everybody was saying, no, I didn't see them. And then when I was like so desperately, my husband came from nowhere, and I look at him and I say, oh my God, where were you? And Bella, my daughter, and he said, sorry, I went to the toilet because Bella asked me so, and I didn't have time to tell you. So I say to him, please never do this with me again, because I got really scared. So because in Brazil, people used to kidnapping kids, and just like in a second, if you're not looking properly at them, they disappear. So that's why I got really scared. So I say to my husband, please never do this with me again.
Do you think your husband learnt from what happened?
Yeah, I think so, because I was crying and I got really upset with him. So I think he realized that next time she should tell me before he takes my daughter even to the toilet, public place.
Thank you. Could I have the question booklet back? Yes. Thank you very much. Now, we've been talking about a time when you or someone you know did something wrong, and I'd like to discuss with you 1 or 2 more general questions related to this. Let's talk about crime and punishment now. Okay. Tell me how criminals are dealt with in your country, in Brazil.
It's complicated because in my country, basically nobody respects the rules. It's really, let's say, a poor country, so people are in need all the time, so they become burglars, they rob people, other people's. So the police has really difficult time in get them, these people, because if you stop to think, they're not really criminals, they're just people that are needy and desperately to put food at home, so they get to a point that they need food and they go out and rob people. So it's kind of complicated, the situation there.
How strict do you think your country is in dealing with criminals?
Well, we don't have death penalty, so I don't think it's that strictly. So as I say to you, the police has difficult
What's the most serious punishment then?
I would say you can get at least 30 years in jail. Yeah, I would say that most.
And what sort of crimes would get you 30 years?
If you kill someone, I guess. Pedophilia. Yeah, what else? Yeah, I think those 2.
Do you believe criminals should always go to prison, or do you think there's a better alternative?
If there is, I don't know where is it. I think criminals should go to jail, but then after that they should be judged in a fair way. I think if they just poor people that trying to put food at home, they have to go. They don't have to go to jail, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's talk about morals now. Okay. Who do you think should teach morals, parents or teachers?
Both, because I think it's 50% situation, because most of the parents nowadays work full time, so as a consequence, the kids go to school full time as well. So it's 50-50. The teachers have to give them education as the parents as well.
Thank you. Now, when you want to motivate people to do the right thing, so you want to encourage people to do the right thing,
Yes.
which do you think is more effective, rewarding people for doing the right thing or punishing them for doing the wrong thing?
Well, I think people should be the right thing all the time, but we are just humans, so it's kind of impossible to do the right thing all the time. So yes, you could get rewarding or something, but definitely people that do the wrong thing, like a crime, has to be punished.
How effective do you think international organisations like the United Nations are in encouraging countries to do the right thing? Are they very effective?
To be honest, I don't believe in this kind of organizations because I think there's always money involved, and when we have countries united, so I don't think it's a social improvement for anybody. It's just about money.
And do you believe all human beings, well, you did say, you said we're all human. Yeah. Do you believe we're all basically good?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Do you think all human beings are born good and then we learn bad behaviour, or do you think it might be the other way around, that we have to be taught good behaviour?
Yeah, I believe that. I believe you're born and you are so innocent, you don't know anything, and then you learn. You start to learn bad things from everywhere, especially TV, like computers, yeah.
Is war ever justified?
No, in my opinion, no.
Why?
Kill someone will never be right. So I don't believe in wars, and I don't agree with wars, and I don't think you should do wars, never.
How can countries who have a disagreement solve their disagreement without going to war?
By the unions. Yeah, I guess that's why they do it. Maybe by organizing meetings, as we already have in the world, like get the prime ministers of each country get together and talk about experience of each country. Yeah.
Thank you.